Hi everyone, it's Jana Wunderlich here. I hope you're doing well. It's been a little while again. I wanted to jump in because I experienced something yesterday, and I actually went to the beach, and I had the idea that I wanted to go for a swim, of course, and then while I was there, I just kind of had this feeling to go for a walk along the beach instead. And I just went with that, and that's, a really simple example. But when I was doing that and just, giving into my, intuition, so to say, I realized that there was a lot of ideas just coming to me as I was walking down the beach, and it was just like bubbling over in my head, and it was such an awesome experience that it really made me think, and that's why I wanted to share that with you. Like, how often do we actually stop and just allow for things to happen? Stop and listen to ourselves and what is actually the right thing to do in the moment, and allow for things to come in, and let ourselves receive what is out there. And that might sound a little bit woo-woo, but I will get a little bit further with that. Because most of the time what we do is we just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and we do more because we have more to do, we have a long to-do list. And somehow it gives us a satisfaction, right? Because we are helping others, because we're working in non-profits and we're helping others. And so we need to keep pushing because it's all for the greater good. But it also means that it leads to exhaustion. And it means that we are sacrificing something. So we're often sacrificing a little bit of ourselves, or a lot of ourselves, in order to give to others. And what's also involved typically in that instance is suffering. And that might not be recognized as such, but it is in the feeling of always feeling behind and feeling less than because others are achieving more, or in the feeling that there should be more, and we should have more, and we need to push more. That is suffering, because it's just feeling there's never enough, we are never enough, there's never enough resources, and essentially that is suffering. And eventually what it leads to is to the feeling that this is just what it is, there's just nothing else. This is so something that I hear all the time in nonprofits is, this is just what it is in nonprofits. We all have to work with the limited resources, and we have to make the best of it, and that's just what it is. But it's not. There's so much more out there. There's so much more opportunity. There are so many more resources out there. We just need to find a way to tap into that. But the truth is, if we keep just focusing on not having enough and focusing on others, then that doesn't really help us to get further. But what it does, it is actually satisfies a certain need in us. And it is, it means that we can focus on others. We doesn't need to focus on ourselves. So that's often one need. And it's also focusing on the wrong thing. It's focusing on the lack. It's focusing on the suffering. It's focusing on the scarcity. And the thing is, the more we focus on that, the more we are getting exactly that, right? I'm sure you have heard something like that before. So, and the more we are sacrificing ourselves, the more we are actually running ourselves into the ground. And that's not going to help anyone. Less so the people that we want to help. So how much better would it be if we actually had more to give, so we can actually help more people, right? How would it be to actually feel excited and inspired and having like this whole energy to give more. How good would that be? And how good would it feel to actually attract more people and more funds and more support into your organization? So the thing is, for that to happen, we need to give up the suffering and we need to start allowing for things to happen. A little bit like when I was at the beach, okay, it was, my day off, it was the weekend, and it's just an example. But what really sank in that moment was I allowed for something else to unfold. And that just allowed my thoughts to flow, and I just allowed something else to come in and happen. And it's really much like that. But if we keep just holding on to the lack of, and the suffering, and the pushing, and the going, and doing, and more, and more, and more, the more we focus on that, the more we will materialize exactly that. So doing more of the same will not actually ever change anything, right? It feels like that because it feels like, oh, if you just do a little bit more and a little bit more, then we will get there and everything will magically change. But really, how long have you been doing this? How long have you been just pushing and pushing and pushing yourself? And how much longer do you actually want to do that before you start doing something else to change? So that's the thing, right? Suffering takes time and energy, and it attracts more suffering. So what we need to do is actually change that around, because this is true every time. The moment that you feel inspired and excited, you will attract more of that excitement and inspiration. It's true every time. So think about it. If you actually think about the people that are killing it in your industry, non-profit leaders that are just easily attracting people and funds and, amazing outcomes, and things just seem to keep flowing, There is loads of them. And then there's loads of people that seem to just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, nothing's ever changing. So what's the difference? Sure, the difference are some strategies, and you might say the difference is that they have more resources. They have bigger budgets, they have bigger resources, whatever. But bigger resources don't just happen. The bigger the organization is, really the more resources they need to keep going, the more resources they need every month or every year to keep going. And they still need to generate that. It's not just handed to them. And the truth is, they generate that because they have a different attraction level. And that really comes from within. As silly as that sounds, it comes from within. So think about a time when you were younger, perhaps. Often when we come out of school and we are all excited about life, or come out of the university, it's the feeling that we don't have a lot to lose, and then we are excited and inspired, and that time, for most people, they experience that as things were just working out. I was traveling to Australia at the time, and I had this dream to do a trip around Australia and spend a year here, and I wanted to work on a cruise ship, so then I did that, and everything really just worked out just like that. And it's because we were excited at the time, right? And everything just felt aligned, and it worked out. And then over time, as there were higher stakes, we became way more serious, and everything became just it just mattered so much more all of a sudden. And then everything became harder because we put so much more weight on everything. And we created rules of how things should be and should not be. And then things became harder, and eventually we started suffering a bit, and things became harder, and we started suffering a bit more. And then eventually we tell ourselves that's just how it is. It has, it's just hard to work in non-profits, or it's just hard to do this as a woman, or, whatever it is. There's loads of different things we tell ourselves. And that's just more suffering, but it doesn't have to be like that. There's so much more available to you and to all of us. There's so much opportunity and so much freedom and excitement and inspiration available. And I want that for all of you. But it requires for you to let go and actually allow yourself to receive. And for most of us, we don't even know how to do that. It's not something that you can just switch on and off. Sorry. It's something that we need to go through a process and identify and learn. And like I went through a really, really deep process to learn that myself. And it was amazing. And, it took something, and you revealed something about yourself that you weren't aware of. But it really brings you to a truth in yourself. And then that will help you to switch and let you trust yourself and allow and actually receive. And once you can do that for yourself, then you can also transfer that to the organization that you lead and to the life that you lead. And it just brings about so much more freedom and so much better outcomes for you. So it's a process to find your truth and to really know yourself and to really trust yourself and what you're doing. And that's really the core of it. And then that will allow you to find those moments where you actually can just step back and trust yourself enough to go, okay, I think I should just do this right now. And then that will bring about more of what you actually want and need in your life. And that will be the turning point in your life. And that's so exciting because it creates so much more space, because you let go of the suffering that sucks your energy and your time at the moment. So this is what can be built in, and we do this through our leadership program. But I encourage you to find somebody who can help you with that, to let go of your suffering and tap into building more, because that's what you're all here for, to create a bigger impact in the world. So no more suffering for any of you, and more creation. It's so much more powerful, it creates so much better outcomes, and it's way, way, way more fun. So our clients actually do that. It's the starting point of our process before we even talk about messaging and strategies and creating anything for the organization. We are looking at you and your leadership and your suffering and turn that around. So if you want to know more, then follow the link in the description above and book in for a chat. And I'd love to talk through your challenges and how we can perhaps help you turn that around. All right, good speaking to you today. I will see you all soon.